This is what happens when reclaimed wood is overused.
Yeah, the whole city goes up in flames. Exactly.
I don't think I've ever seen sort of a long shingle like that. Have you been?
I don't think I have. It's unclear whether it's a shingle or whether it's a plank of wood.
It's kind of in between. I don't know that a horse would support a horse and a rider.
Yeah, I don't think so. Plausibility isn't the first thing that game designers seem to think about. But this is a more plausible world than Minecraft in a way. I mean, well, it's more realistic.
Oh, for sure. I mean, someone has spent a lot of time studying traditional architectural details and then adapted it too. There was like a column just a step back that kind of almost looked like a more lamppost from turn of the century. Right there on the left.
On the left.
Yeah. Castle architecture, which is, I can't tell which period because there's this sort of Edwardian aspect applied to it as well.
My knowledge of medieval architecture gets pretty murky. One thing you see in a lot of these processions, the character moves a kind of wide, long shot of structure, and then they approach a gate, and then they move into a vestibule, and then they move into a hall.
Look at the turret detail and articulation. It's almost like the tracery, the ornament that you see on windows. It's fantastical, but beautiful. Is that laundry? I don't think that was laundry hanging. As opposed to the one now is much more medieval, functional.
There's a lot of defensive fortress architecture in contrast to the processional architecture that would have traditionally been used to elevate the status of the church.
That looks like a much more modern pillar, don't you think, Ben?
It's an Ionic order. It doesn't have the intricate detail of the other classical orders.
Oh, pretty steep grade.
Yeah. It's probably something you wouldn't have seen in a medieval building.
Yeah, not that wide. If you were to see that steeper grade, it might be under a castle, but it'd be like a little tunnel.
Yeah. This is weird because there's Renaissance detailing, like a kind of classical revival. It's also this kind of medieval catacomb. There's 1,000 years of history mashed up into this spaces.
The color is awesome. The detailing is not a medieval knight era. It's much later.
Several of these remind me of San Simeon, the gigantic fireplaces. Almost several of the spaces that we've been in have had hearths, fireplaces, they kind of orient you when you're in the game, I suppose.
Yeah. Sort of gone with the wind a little bit, too.
This isn't a decayed space. This looks like a space that's more maintained, I guess.
And I don't think you would actually... So it's a barrel vault, the whole room.
Yeah.
But then they've coffered.
Yeah.
Which one wouldn't have traditionally done that at all. Because it's the idea of like a stone coffer, but then a stone circular barrel arch. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's a mashup of different castles and different architectural typologies.
Manor is a good word. Yeah. It's not exactly a castle, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like a merchant manor.
There's like a little chapel perched up on the top of it. The architecture also has this defensive quality. There were periods where they used that as a motif, but they didn't actually serve a defensive purpose. This building looks like it would be vulnerable to attack, although that's pretty steep.
More decay.
Well, this looks like there's a lava flow running through the...
It's beautiful paving. I've never seen paving like that. Lava is molten rock, so if lava is touching rock, it's melting it. Or it's cooling on it.
It's cooling on it. Was that some kind of mechanical device? Like some kind of big turbine? Look at that. Yeah.
I mean, this is another historical thing, too, right? Like, it wouldn't be metal at that time. It'd be a stone wheel.
Nobody would be articulating or moving a bridge that's built in stone.
But, I mean, if you had a lava waterfall... Almost like somebody had a late night party. So, like, they left all the candles on the ground near the huddle puddle.
It's interesting to see that most of the games that we've seen thus far are set in a Western European world, but we haven't yet seen Thailand or Aztec universe.
Oh, wow. That's one of the ways they got our architectural articulation back in the day. They killed the dragon and then it just sort of froze. Oh, this looks like an 80s album cover.
Totally.
And I can't remember which one.
It's funny because that's a ruin, right? Like that's like either a Greek or a Roman, Assyrian ruin. Right? A lot of architects in the Renaissance, that was all they had to learn from. People built in these classical periods, this kind of idealized path. And so there's a lot of documentation of ruins that was done during the Renaissance by architects who traveled to visit ruins as a way of gathering knowledge.